Emily Yang from the UK. Welcome to Dugas Corner.
Hi, Jim. Nice to meet you here. How are you doing?
Nice to meet you too here. Actually, we're meeting for the first time, I think, but I've been following you on Twitter for a while. I've heard a lot about you as well. We're here to talk about Java 1. It's coming up in October 17th through the 20th in Las Vegas this year. That'll be interesting. What do you think? You're looking forward to it?
Yeah, actually I'm quite excited. I'm a great Java 1 fan actually. I've been to the last Java 1, and then I have been to the code 1, following years, and then now it's kind of back to Java 1. So it's also a change the location to Las Vegas. So I haven't been there, so it would be a great journey for me. I don't know. I'm pretty much looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've been to Las Vegas, I think just once or twice, but it was 30 years ago. So, I was at 3Com, but I guess about 20 years ago. So, about 20 years ago. So I'm sure it hasn't changed much at all in 20 years. So you're a speaker at the conference, and so let's talk a little bit about your sessions. You're doing 3 sessions there, and the one that you're doing alone, I think you have a couple of sessions where you're actually with some people, but there's a session called Rethinking Microservices. So I'm interested in the concept of the rethinking bit there.
Yeah, so the reason I come up with this title, Rethink, is basically back to 10 years ago, and people say, "Oh, have you heard of microservice? You got to know microservice. You got to learn microservice." And then a lot of people rush to microservices, and a lot of people want to put a microservice on their CV, and then they will convince their employers, "Let's do microservices." Actually, it's a few years later, some company found out actually they're better off not to do microservices.
Really?
So basically, it's the rethink bit is I want to make people realize microservice is not a default answer for all of the problems. It's people saying, "Okay, we got this problem," and then people say, "Tell you what, you got to do microservices." And at this time, you need to challenge back is why microservice can solve that problem. Actually, if you don't know microservice could solve the problem, actually you got more problems after you convert to microservices. So so this is one thing. Basically, in my session, I will look back the history of microservices, how the technology evolved into microservices, and then look at what microservices is trying to solve, what kind of the things you should do right. When you do microservices, if you abuse microservices, actually you got more problems. You got to do it right, use best practices. And then also we look at monoliths. Sometimes the monolith is the right answer for your problem. And then I want to make people realize actually monolith is not always bad. Microservice is not a default answer to all of your problem. And then the other thing is the new things coming up every day. Now people talk more about serverless. Actually, doesn't mean that once you do serverless, microservices is kind of become past. It's irrelevant anymore. Actually not. Actually, it's also I want to make people look at a microservice can run beautifully as a serverless functions. So finally, I will introduce the common programming model. No matter you do monoliths or microservices, and actually you need to bear in mind your application probably need to run in the cloud. You got to build a cloud native applications. In order to build a cloud native application, you should use a cloud native programming model, which is Jakarta EE and a microprofile. So once you know and utilize this open standard, you can relax. Basically, your application can run beautifully natively in the cloud and utilize the cloud infrastructure do not do the split hair exercise. Is are you doing a monolith? Are you doing microservices? Just focus on the problem you are having.
Interesting. So basically, to stop and think, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I mean, I've heard so much of everything's microservices, everything's, and like monolith was always considered bad, or at least, recently. So, I mean, it's good to hear that you're going to do a session on rethinking this. You also mentioned history. I mean, how far, what is the history, just briefly, how far does microservices go back, or what are some of the historical, underpinnings of it?
Yeah, actually it's dated back to EJB time. So IBM came up with EJB. I know a lot of people hate EJB. It's kind of very difficult, and people spend weeks to learn EJB. However, nowadays EJB is quite easy to learn. However, because EJB got the bad reputation and people are scared of EJB. So from EJB, and then people say, okay, that's EJB is the only solution for Java. What about other technologies? What about other languages? And then is the SOA, service-oriented architecture, come out. So that would be a kind of language agnostic. And then is kind of introduce the messaging layer and etc. And then it's gradually they come up with the REST. So basically you deal with the focus more on the JSON and also the transport layer, the REST. And then it become the RESTful services. So you eventually is evolved into microservices. So it's and then it's once microservice become the new shining star, and people automatically throw away monoliths. It's monoliths is bad, and etc. So this is once you kind of microservice has been around for some years, and people say, oh, okay, microservice is not got all the all the good bits. Actually, microservice also has its own problem. And the other thing is one thing is for transaction. I know monolith you can do a two-phase commit, so that's proven. And a microservice transaction is kind of bigger challenge. Like you do the different, you have to deal with it differently. So it's basically is also the other thing that I want to mention is when you rush to microservices, you have to use best practices. If you don't build a microservice the right way, you might create some distributed system. You have more problems. So it's a distributed monolith. So it's So it's basically I want to make people understand, and when they have problem, they need to sit back to evaluate the solutions instead of just rushing to something they want to use.
Do a lot of companies, do a lot of people, do a lot of developers actually rush in? And I mean, from your experience, I mean, is this a common problem?
Yeah, it's actually as a QCon, and basically is I heard some developers rush to microservices is kind of CV-driven development. Basically, is I heard if you know the microservice, you can get a better paid job. So basically, so this is become a CV-driven development. So this is quite bad.
Interesting. Okay, so you're doing 2 other sessions. What are those?
The other session is a lab. I'm going to do together with Alistair Nottingham. Is about building cloud native applications using microprofile and OpenLiberty. So basically, it's end-to-end kind of the scenario. So it's from zero code and then build a kind of the application which is cloud native. Will have a health connect well with Kubernetes and config and etc. And also the secure your cloud native applications. And then you Dockerize it and publish it, push it to the Kubernetes cluster. And also want to introduce a new technology we are currently working on. We call it instant on. So basically, it's without doing the native image style, the performance boost. We use this checkpoint approach available in Linux. So basically, it's we do a checkpoint and a snapshot, and in this Docker image, and actually when you start up a pod, so automatically you already got image right there. You directly install it. So this is a boost up startup performance. So you can start the content within within probably less than 100 milliseconds. So we want to demonstrate that. So with this thing is that people will realize actually is actually you can do serverless with microservices without any problem, because they can start up really fast.
So how long is the lab then?
This lab is 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have we cover quite a lot, and because I want to demonstrate end to end, so it's from zero code to full blown kind of the microservices, cloud native applications, I would say, and running the Kubernetes cluster.
Excellent. Okay, so you have a third session. Three sessions is a lot, right?
Yeah.
So what's the third?
The third one is the Jakarta EE panel, which I will team up with Eva Grimstad, Reza Raham, and also Edwin Duba. And so basically we do a roundtable conversation about Jakarta EE with a great focus on the Jakarta EE 10. Jakarta EE 10 is going to be released, Jakarta EE 10 the platform and web profile is going to release very soon. So in October time, so that will be a kind of quite fresh release, Jakarta EE 10. We want to discuss what's in Jakarta EE 10, and hopefully also we can get some feedback what to focus on the future release of Jakarta EE.
Excellent. Wow, that sounds like a lot. You mentioned earlier when we first started talking that you've been to Java 1 before and the Oracle Code ones, and now you're looking forward to this this one here. And so maybe you can talk for a few minutes about what do these conferences mean to you? I mean, aside from delivering a talk, you're delivering technical information, but you're also mixing with the community, right? So you're coming together with people that are developers like you from all different parts of the world, all different companies, and you're coming together as a community. What is that like for a developer? I mean, talk a little bit about what it means to you.
Yeah, so one of the great advantage to go to the in-person conference, especially this developer conference. Especially Java 1, because there's a lot of Java developers. So first thing is that's where I can meet a lot of Java developers. And then because I'm doing open source, so this is a great platform I can interact with other Java developers is for two objectives. One is I want to hear some feedback. Is some of them are my customers, right? So they use what I produce. So I want to get first-hand feedback on where to go, what's their suggestion for the next version, or what's their feedback on the usage part. So this is one thing. The other thing is this open source. Open source is not a thing if no people around, right? So this is a developer-focused conference. Is a great way to get other people involved. So basically, it's I talk about these open source technologies, and also at the same time, I let others know how to get involved. So basically, you can raise the issue, or even you can contribute to this community. So this is a great way to grow the community. So make people feel they are inclusive, they are invited to come to the community. So these are the two things. The other thing I come to conferences is because also is the greater networking opportunities. So it's great to meet the older friends because we talk and work together and have a virtual calls. But nothing compared to a meet up in person, go to have a coffee together, dinner together, and have a real chit chat. So it's after you met with somebody, you feel like, okay, when you go back to work and then you talk to them and feel like, oh, okay, you know exactly what they are thinking. So basically it's a team building. It's open source. It's not like you work in the same team physically together. You go to the same office, you see them all the time. So conference probably is only one of the is a great opportunity for the community to meet up, have some real chat. So basically, it's a great team building exercise.
Yeah, it's very people. Some people don't realize. I mean, like doing all the Zoom stuff, right? Because we had to recently, obviously, but getting together, you can do so much more work. You can get so much more deeply into a problem. It's just a high resolution, a high fidelity environment. As opposed to, and the Zoom stuff, the online stuff is good for connecting with anybody around the world immediately, but you can go much more deeply, I find anyway, which is, I think, echoing just what you're saying. When you're having a cup of coffee together, you're sitting hacking on a problem, it's right there, it's immediate, and you have the undivided attention of the person in front of you, and you can really solve some interesting problems, generate new ideas really quickly. And so I'm really happy myself, because I've been to many Java ones in the past. That's Sun. And so, all right, well, let's wrap up with, you've been a developer, you go to these conferences, you contribute to open source. I'm always interested in when I talk to developers, why they became a developer. Particularly because I'm interested in how people like you use very advanced tools to solve really hard problems. All right. It's almost like magic, right? So is this, I'm interested in the thought process, the thinking that you go through when you solve problems. So talk a little bit about why you became a developer.
Yeah, so I came as a developer because I like to learn new technologies. So it's developer life is never boring. You have millions and millions of things to learn. You do different things each day. So basically, there's a new technology that pop up all the time. So it's basically keep your brain active, you don't do the repeating stuff all the time. It's also actually there's the other thing is basically challenge yourself to the next level. So it's a kind of don't feel I'm lazy. But if I want to be lazy, probably I had better not to be a developer. So basically, developer is quite exciting. It's a very exciting job. And actually, it's one thing is exciting technologies, and also is after you overcome some problems, and you just feel like you are very satisfied. Right. So this is basically self-realization. So this is why I stay as a developer. In the past. Cool. So this is. What is the greater benefit for being a developer?
So if you had to do it all over again, would you do the same thing?
Yeah, definitely. I would do the same thing. I know it's kind of I know it's because I studied finance and also computing, and some of the friends went to finance. They can earn a lot of money and etc. However, the job I'm doing is so exciting. So I love it. So it's basically also depend on the personality as well. Yeah, some people probably they want to be like all the things defined. For me, I like challenges. So I see challenges and overcome the challenges. I feel so rewarding. So yeah, so that's why I think I will stay as a good developer.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, Emily, it was great talking to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you live in really just a few weeks now. It's a couple of months, actually, in October 17th through 20th at Java One in Las Vegas. And yeah, have a good few months, and we'll see you then.
Yeah, definitely. We should meet up for coffee,
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye now.
Yeah. Yeah. Bye. Thank you so much.
Okay.